after Steven Crowder bared his soul, and I did make my video was sympathetic to him because I felt bad. I mean, of course, he was like, oh, it was alluding to the fact that being able to get a divorce from him was unfair. Because, like, and I was like, oh, yeah, I get it, though. He said that he loves his wife, and his wife doesn't love him anymore. Of course, after that, I think one of the things I even said in my video is, why would you release this? Like, this seems like a marital problem, and you shouldn't really be bearing this. But he did. Well, I guess she decided to come forward with a little bit of ring cam footage about how he's not a great guy. And I think Candace Owens was the first person to talk about it. But considering Steven referenced Candace, I guess there's a little bit of a vendetta back and forth. And as you can see in this very interesting pause I got going on here, she's very upset. I watched a bit of the footage. It doesn't look very good. I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's just like wild that I wonder if he thinks that's okay, like the way that he was talking to his wife. But let's just get this started.
Breaking news that just happened, and before we get to it, I just want to back up.
That is what breaking news is.
And tell you why we are discussing this breaking news, because it's occurred to me that there are some people out there who believe that to be a conservative, what it means is that we become tribal and we defend other conservatives even when they do things that are wrong, that we don't discuss things that are horrible on our own side because we need to just make sure that we score wins in other ways, and that is wrong. That to me is the exact opposite.
I would just say because it was pretty bad, the footage, and I don't think that Crowder's a threat or menace to society, but he certainly he needs to find Jesus or a therapist. Okay.
Why I have this platform. I am not tribal. I want to expose things when they are bad on the left, and I will also expose things when they are bad on the right. Obviously, I have been interested in the Steven Crowder saga pertaining to his divorce because he literally inserted me into his divorce a couple of days ago. And his wife and family are now speaking out.
What are you guys banging? I could ship it. I guess not anymore, though.
Regarding that video in which he told people publicly that his wife was leaving him. If you remember this, he chose wrong. And he essentially made it sound as if he did not want his marriage to end, but his wife simply wanted to leave.
Yeah. Which sounds sad. I remember saying that, like, I was like, oh, that's so sad, you know? That's so sad to love somebody and they don't love you back. But
well, she has responded by giving video, and I want to prep.
I wonder why he said that. I wonder if it's true, though, or if that's like the game for him. If it's like, I'm a staunch conservative and getting divorced is bad, so I need to make it seem like people don't think that it was my choice. I wonder if that's actually the reason why he pushed the narrative he did. Or maybe it's true, but or maybe like what it was is he's like, I'm a staunch conservative. I don't get divorced, but she'll leave me, you know?
I want you to know this is horrific video.
She's leaving me. It's not my choice. Women shouldn't have this choice.
It's very difficult to watch. It's especially difficult to watch because in this footage, she is 8 months pregnant. And the video essentially reveals just how emotionally abusive he has been. And she is alleging that he has been emotionally abusive to her. And this video all but confirms it. So let's first get to the footage. I'm just going to allow you to watch it in its entirety.
I drew a boundary. I drew a boundary. No, you just did it. I drew a boundary of abusive and cruel. You were not taking the car. Because if you refuse to do wifely things, then I will go pick up the groceries.
So, all right. So he has set a boundary, guys. And boundaries can be very healthy. And the boundary is you're going to do... My wife just started laughing like a hyena in the background. I'm sorry. Not to this. She's just in the other room watching TikTok. Sorry. This is inappropriate. They have a boundary that she does the wifey duties and he does the hubby duties. Now, I can respect that dynamic. Okay, I'm laughing because of my wife. I'm sorry. You probably didn't hear it. Such a bad timing. Oh, my God. I understand that fundamentally. But what I also would say is, like, when you got a baby growing in that, I mean, especially 8 months, I think you got to help a little more, you know? I understand traditional values, but there has to be flexibility. I mean, this woman's literally carrying you inside of her. You put a little bit of goop in her, and now it's turning into a thing. You know, and so you got to be more supportive. If she can't do the dishes or something because her feet are swelling up, do the dishes, hire someone to do them. If you're rich and lazy, if I had that much money, I'd be like, all right, we just get a maid to come through and do everything. Oh, you heard it? But that's, I mean, I understand boundaries, but, you know, goddamn, 8 months pregnant? It's crazy. Okay. And now he won't let her use the car, which is like a real, it's just, I don't know. I mean, she's a grown woman and you're going to try to take her away. That's, you're treating her like a child. I mean, yeah, okay.
Steaks, wood pellets, my grill. I know it's an unreasonable request, but I'll go do it.
Oh, so just go do it.
Hillary, how do you respect the man? Yes, how do you, man? How do you, man? Let's see the love of respect. No, how do you, man? No, you're not taking the car.
Stephen,
You're not taking the car.
Stephen,
you are not.
Then I will ask them to pick me up. Would you like me to ask?
Oh, that's right.
Is that respect, Stephen?
Get an Uber.
Okay, Stephen.
Who are they referring to? Who's the person that she's saying, do you want me to ask them to pick me up?
Would you like me to ask?
You're not taking the car.
Stephen,
you are not.
Then I will ask them to pick me up.
Oh, ask someone, just a random person. And then he says, take an Uber. But, like, if the only reason he doesn't want her to take the car is because it's a punishment, I mean, maybe I guess you would call that abuse. It's really controlling. You know, if my wife's much pregnant, I might not want her to drive because she's got, you know, she's driving for 2 now. But I'll put the alerts on a little bit. I just want to get to the segment. But I know it's clear that it's just a control tactic. He's mad at her, so he's taking something away. I mean, listen, I get the fights with my wife too, you know, and they're not, you know, I understand that, like, there's always context involved, but I never say this. I just get mad and I walk away, or she gets mad and walks away. You know, this is crazy.
Would you like me to ask?
Oh, that's right.
Is that respect, Stephen?
Get an Uber.
Okay, Stephen, I can't.
Feeling some constraints?
Stephen.
Like, I can't
Stephen.
go. Listen to me. Listen to me. You want to walk out right now? Listen to me. I can't go to the gym. I can't go to my parents.
Why can't he go to the gym or his parents? I don't understand that.
I can't call my friends. I can't be home. You're going to take the car and leave me here. Hillary, just think of how boxing has made me.
Is he saying that he can't go anywhere if she takes the car? Is that what he's saying? I'm not understanding.
What do you need me to pick up? I'll get it. I'll be back when I'm back.
No, that doesn't work either. You'll be back when you're back. That doesn't work either. Do
I
you understand the difference between my life being set to the second and you going, I'll be back when I'm back?
Stephen?
The only way out of it is discipline and respect. It's the only way out of it, or we're at an impasse.
We are going to do it.
Oh, Jesus, this is ridiculous. It's like he's talking to a kid. Why? Like, are you talking to your wife like that?
The only way out of it.
Only way out of this is discipline and respect. Is that sound like it just sounds like he's trying to punish her for like something that she's not doing, which is the chores. Holy fuck. Give her a break.
Discipline and respect. It's the only way out of it, or we're at an impasse.
We are going to do it.
Good. Because you can't have any discipline and respect.
Yeah.
There you go. You throw your hand. You give up so easily.
I don't give up, Stephen.
You give up so easily. I just said the only way out of this is discipline and respect. You said, then we're at an impasse.
Stephen, no, we are at an impasse, okay? I love you, but Stephen, your abuse is sick. Your abuse
Watch it.
is sick.
Watch it.
Wow. Okay.
Watch it.
I'm going to let go. I'll get what you need to get. And I need some space. We need to just talk and baby for a little bit, okay? I love you. I love you very much.
I wonder if she actually does love him. And that this is I only asked this question for a reason, okay? Because either I think that maybe part of this video might indicate to some of us that, like, oh no, she actually does love him, and he put this narrative out there. But what I look at it is, it's possible that she doesn't love him, but she's so, and this might be a little stretch, so don't fucking run to the fucking woods with this. But she might be so afraid that she's like, I love you, like, to try to calm him down a little bit. But I don't know if I could love someone like that. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ. So I wonder if she's just saying that because if not, he will be even worse. I wonder how, I mean, I don't know, dude. Everybody has their bad moments. So I don't want to jump into a conclusion that he's a horrible, terrible human being. Maybe there's something going on that's really stressing him out, you know, and they're having a bad fight or something. But this doesn't seem like a fight that, like, I've had, I guess, before. I don't know. Like, I've gotten into, like, screaming matches with my exes and stuff before because, like, both of us are being shitty. And we were, like, really toxic, and I'm definitely not proud of it. But, like, this is, like, your wife, and she has a baby. She's pregnant, and you're talking about, like, punishing her? It's fucking bizarre.
I don't love you. That's the big problem. I've never received love from you, and the fact is, when I go, look, I need you to do A, B, C, and D, you should discipline about it, you go, no. But I love you more than life itself. Okay. Put on some gloves. No. But I love you more than life itself.
Put on some gloves for what?
It's not fair. It's not fair, and it's disingenuous. Hillary, you're right, we're at an impasse. Become someone, listen to me, day in and day out, worthy of a wife. No, not as a wife. I didn't say as a wife. Hillary, come on now.
I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to engage anymore. I'm going to go. I'll get text me what you need. I'll get you what you need. I love you. I'm committed to you.
Are you committed enough to do those things?
I'm not
Are you committed enough to do those things? You're not committed to anything. You're not committed to anything. You just said I love you. I'm committed to it. Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves.
Walk the dogs? What the fuck? Dude, this is over walking dogs?
You just said I love you. I'm committed to it. Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to do those things?
Wait, did he grab her or am I just...
You just said I love you. I'm committed to it. Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to do those things? Are you committed enough to do those things? Are you committed enough to do those things?
I'm good.
Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to get the medication the dogs?
Sorry, I need to just... I'm trying to leave the subtitles. Let me slow this down a little bit. Jesus Christ.
Walk the dogs. Put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to...
Are you committed enough... Oh, to get the medication. Is it medication for the dog? Is that what it is? Why can't he just do it?
Get the medication the dogs. Don't get
As the Crowders head inside, Stephen gets angrier and angrier, and by his own admission screams, "I will fuck you up," at his pregnant wife Hillary, who then flees their home. Jesus Christ! Even the dog looks sad. What the fuck? I'm not even kidding. Like,
Put on some gloves. Are you committed enough to get the medication the dogs? Don't you take Betty?
I hate the way that people on YouTube overread into stuff, but like, I'm looking at this dog, and this dog looks sad, and that makes me sad. You know what I mean? I know that's weird, but like, I wonder, is he bad to the dog too? My wife keeps laughing. She's gotta stop watching TikTok. Because the dogs got like the tail between their legs and stuff, walks in the house sadly. I don't know. I might be because I hate YouTubers that are like, oh my god, I'm an empath. I can read what the dog's feeling. You know, because they're fucking obnoxious. And I'm not trying to, there's people who come into stuff and they're like, oh, I want this to be true. But like, I don't want this to be abusive because like, who wants abusive things to happen? But like, as I watch this, I'm like, holy fuck. Like, I go into everything a little skeptical, but I mean, what the fuck? I would have divorced him too.
So that is both heartbreaking and infuriating for me to watch. I cannot even comprehend how any man can speak to a woman like that, least of all when she is 8 months pregnant. And sadly, that isn't the worst part of that correspondence. The journalist that dropped this video is Yashar Ali. He dropped this as well as a Substack entry accompanying it. On the Substack article, he wrote, "Moments later, off camera, Steven Crowder, by his own admission, would lose control and scream at his pregnant wife in a threatening tone, quote, 'I will f you up,' end quote, which led his wife to flee their home."
Jesus.
She then sent a statement, which I want to be very clear.
Well, but guys, you have to understand, the dogs need to get their medication, and he is too busy smoking a cigar. So, what is he supposed to do? Put the cigar down and feed the dog or whatever?
Statement I knew was going to cut out. I didn't know any of this information. I had no idea there was a video or there was any evidence. I did know that their family was thinking about issuing a statement, and Hillary Crowder did issue a statement. And I'm going to read you that statement in its entirety because it's important. I think it reveals a lot of the lies that Steven has been telling publicly to his audiences. It reads, "Hillary is currently living alone in Dallas apart from her family and support system in Michigan and is focused on taking care of her young children."
Okay.
She is not prepared at this time to speak about her divorce becoming public or the misleading statements made by Steven about their relationship. The truth is that Hillary spent years hiding Steven's mentally and emotionally abusive behavior from her friends and family while she attempted to save their marriage. She was the one who was asking to work on their relationship to keep the marriage intact for their unborn child.
Damn.
In June of 2021, Steven left their home to pursue elective surgery. That's very important. I want you to remember that. I'm going to come back to that point.
Well, isn't that his heart shit? Isn't that something a little separate?
Hillary urged him to get the help he needed to address his abuse with the hope that their marriage could be saved and they could peacefully live together as a family. Instead, Steven refused to do so and chose not to be with his wife during the birth of their twin children. After the birth...
Well, listen, I don't mean to... I'm pretty sure... My understanding, and I could be wrong, but that elective surgery is his heart surgery, no? So, like, this video evidence suggests horrible things about him. The only one thing I'll say is, like, was that the surgery that they're talking about? If it is, like, even if it was technically elective, I can understand. But maybe I got the time wrong. Maybe I just got the time wrong, and he got, like, a surgery for something else. When did Steven Crowder get heart surgery? In July 2021, Crowder underwent a surgical operation in which titanium bars were inserted into his chest. in order to counteract his congenital condition of sunken chest. So I don't. Okay, I just want to say, like, if that is technically an elective surgery, it sounds like something that was somewhat needed. So I think that's what they're referring to. I just want to make sure I'm like, that seems like somewhat of a necessary thing to do. I guess he could have held off his sunken chest thing. I don't know. He had a BBL. Oh, yeah. They're saying it's cosmetic. Maybe. I don't know. That part is something. Okay.
Stephen bought a townhouse and left their home permanently.
What?
Hillary was not aware that Stephen hired a divorce attorney and asked his assistant to cut Hillary off financially.
Jesus.
There was significant documentation substantiating these facts. I want you to remember that portion as well, because that's another lie that Stephen has told publicly.
So Stephen's the one who started the divorce?
We hope that Stephen will cease from speaking publicly about these personal matters in an untruthful manner. We also look forward to there being full transparency in the legal process, so there is fairness and accountability for the actions that caused the divorce, and to ensure the outcome is what is in the best interests of the young children. I would first like to...
Okay, so if this is true, and I'm always just a bit skeptical, but it sounds like they've got their I's dotted and their T's crossed. But if this is true, then this confirms what I said before, that Stephen coming forward and saying that it was all his wife's fault is this conservative pander to say, I know, guys, divorce is super important and you should never get divorced ever in the entire world. So my wife is at fault, and it's so sad that women can do these things. I don't know. So that he can come off as like the virtuous conservative that believes in marriage, even if he's the one that started the whole divorce in the first place. So, yeah, that sounds like that's what happened there.
To go back to that portion where she says, Steve...
Elective just means it can be scheduled anytime. She's implying that he chose to schedule it when she was due to give birth instead of before or earlier. Interesting. That makes sense. Okay.
Even left their home to pursue elective surgery, because I know exactly what surgery she's referring to, because during my first backstage here at Daily Wire, we actually prayed for Stephen and this surgery. So before I show you a clip from us on backstage, here is Stephen describing that surgery, and it certainly doesn't sound like it's elective. Take a listen.
I explained to you a little bit what it is. A lot of people say, why are you smoking? My heart is actually great, but my heart doesn't work great. The reason my heart doesn't work great is, long story short, because of a connective tissue disorder I have, and my chest is caving in on my heart. So I've got I'm at a little more than half of the blood flow that you guys have, ventricular output from my heart. So it's a mechanical fix. And I don't know, maybe I'll feel like Lance Armstrong, like I'm on EPO after this, because I don't know what it's like to go through life with full blood flow. To me, I'm looking forward to it, not looking forward to the pain. Lance Armstrong.
All right, elective surgery, a choice may be made by the patient or doctor, for example. The time when the surgery is performed may be elective. I think elective just means that like you have some room on when you want to get it done. Okay.
By the way, with the 3 balls, not the one. So yeah, it's overall a positive thing, and honestly, I've probably needed a little bit of rest. It comes in the form of having my chest cracked open.
Obviously, he had the surgery, and then his lung collapsed, and here is us praying for him, praying that he actually gets better.
Damn, you guys did the wrong thing.
Our pal, Steve Crowder, who makes the best ashtrays.
Fuck is this guy? Okay, whatever.
In the country,
Truly.
in the hospital, fighting for his life, and he's really come close. He's come close to the dark edge of things. And I just want to say that crazy as he is, we love him, and we're thinking about him. That we hope he makes it back.
You're a better man.
Was that me?
Say that crazy as he is, we love him, and we're thinking about him.
That was not me.
We hope he makes it back.
You're a better man than I am.
Well, that's true.
I was actually just looking forward to the show being over so that I could text him and say, hope you don't make it, pal.
Actually, this is a real story. Last night I had to go for a drive because a long story, but I had to burn down gas to take my car into the shop, and so I was going to smoke a cigar, and I was going to say my nightly prayers. I thought, I should probably pray for Crowder, because he's in this. And I thought, what's great? I'm going to light up one of the cigars that Crowder sent me.
Yeah.
And Crowder, this guy who's a complete maniac, he sent me these beautiful cigars, and I was like, oh pal, I'm going to send you some cigars right away from my humidor. Haven't sent him a single thing, but that guy, he, really a generous fellow. And doesn't get enough credit.
I actually did text him and say that we were praying for him at great risk to our souls.
It's kind of interesting that like all these people are like joking about how much of an asshole he kind of is. Like this sounds like jovial, but they're like, yeah, Steven's kind of a dickheaded fuck. It's interesting. They're just like, yeah, he's like, I know that they're joking, but like, you take on some of your real life when you joke. So you joke like we all have an asshole friend. Maybe I'm that asshole friend. I don't know. He seems like they're like, yeah, he's an asshole. Like they're saying that he's a dickhead, but like they're praying for him because he's a friend, and I get that. But it's like all of it kind of adds up, you know, that the kneeling on the neck joke, all like the mockery of different, you know, ethnicities of people, you know, the abusing his wife. Who would have thought of that coming? I guess. Jesus Christ. It's wild. I don't know about this elective surgery angle. I'm not going to call it an angle. I don't want it to seem like I think that they're targeting them. You know, maybe they are because it's Daily Wire and they have like a beef, but I doubt it. I'm sure that Candace is just tired, and it's one of those things where it's like an off switch. It's like a little bit of like, okay, this guy's like fucked around too much. This is where I'm like done with this individual. And we've all been there, you know. But, you know, it's possible that like maybe he had to schedule this specifically. Which doesn't change the rest of the shit where he's like horrible to his wife. But it's possible that he scheduled the surgery for as soon as possible, and like, you know, it happened to be then. I don't know, maybe there's a waiting list or something. Or it's also possible that he just hates his wife and family and wanted to do it to be absent from the birth because he wanted an excuse. That's also possible. It's hard to think somebody would want to be absent from their kid's birth. You know, I don't want to look at my wife's pussy as a fucking head comes out of her vagina because, you know, that's horrific. But I'll stand next to her or at the very least in the waiting room, right? Man, my head was bigger than my shoulders coming out, so my wife's gonna have a rough time. But damn, you know, it's hard to say because maybe he did do that. Maybe for whatever reason he wanted to be separated. That's terrible.
He dies, I personally will kill him. Right?
And yet, according to his wife, this was an elective surgery, really a cosmetic surgery, because Stephen didn't like the way that his chest looked because he had a sunken chest. It was not something that was actually required to save his life.
Okay, but this ain't okay.
Yeah,
I've already expressed myself on this
behavior.
angle.
Stephen garnering a ton of affection and prayers from his followers, purporting to be the victim, when in fact the facts don't line up with his narrative. The second portion that I'd like to point to is where it says Hillary was not aware that Stephen hired a divorce attorney. This stands in stark contrast to what he told his followers when he said how hard divorce was and how difficult and horrific it had been, and how he really didn't want it, and just, you know, Texas is a no-fault divorce state. What is the truth here? I don't know. Obviously, right now we have his wife's word versus Stephen's word. But given
it says it's rarely life-threatening. So, you know, it's not looking good for you, Crowder. It says the sunken chest is rarely life-threatening. It's not looking good for you, Crowder. They get worse over time. The chest will naturally stiffen up as the body ages, which should be taken into consideration. It's not emergency surgery, so patients usually have time to prepare for the procedure. I don't know. It's hard to be like, it's hard to be charitable to him right now with everything going on. The timing is just, it's al dente, I'll tell you that. It's right. It's on the money for some reason.
Personal experience with Stephen, I am very much inclined to.
Or maybe it's not even that deep. Maybe he just didn't give a shit. And when he found out, he's like, okay, whatever. He's like, I don't care, you know?
Believe his wife.
Yeah, maybe he was just needed to get his chest pumped back out because he wanted to look like a real man. I'm going to beat you. I got to get my chest out. I got to look like a real man. Part of that is berating my pregnant wife about giving the dog medications. That's just wild to me, you know? Damn, that's wild to me. Jesus Christ. I hope that I'm a good guy when I have my wife is pregnant. I really do hope so. I'm very insecure about like the person I am sometimes. Cause like, you know, for a long period of my time, like I've struggled with like an anger issues. When I was young, I went to therapy for like 10 years. You know, it started when I was a kid. I think it was because my father left me, and I've never hit anybody or done anything, but you know, I've been with exes where we just scream at each other and we're very toxic towards each other. And I worry that I'm bad to my wife. I don't think I am. You know, she assures me that I'm a good guy, and we've been working, you know, all that. But like, I hope I don't like fucking like, gee, I would never do that. I hope that I don't do that. Like, that sounds so weird. Like, I don't fuck. Like, I've been really good about monitoring like my anger and stuff for a very long time, but fuck, like, I hope that I know, like, what the fuck? I hope I'm not a scum piece of shit. Like, I'm terrified of that. Jesus, that'd be so scary to be that. Like, I was scared for the person, but like, I would be horrible. Imagine being that person who yells at their wife to like fucking walk the dog or whatever because when they're 8 months pregnant. Like, that's like, I'm terrified of being like a bad person like that and like a bad man, you know? Jesus, that's fucking horrible. But okay.
Now, I'd like to get into some other portions of this article, which I think are really important. The writer has a bunch of audio files and text messages that were sent to him that he was able to review. He writes, in audio files and text messages that I reviewed, Steven Crowder
yeah, I'll take estrogen. I should be good. Thank you.
Admits to some of his faults, which include a volcanic temper, repeatedly and at times regretfully. But according to sources that I spoke to who are familiar with their relationship, Crowder's admissions often came after a sustained period of mental and emotional abuse, and he didn't seem to be able to control his impulses. That, again, is something that I have seen personally. Very bizarre, but he would insert me into a divorce announcement and purport that I somehow extorted him. It's very bizarre in the way that he attacked the Daily Wire. And there just seemed to be...
How long do these episodes last? Because, like, I have angry days, and then I usually just keep to myself. Like, I just get angry, and then I just sit alone for like for a few hours, and I just stew. Because, you know, and then I take breaths, and I just try to be like, okay, why am I angry today? And then sometimes I get sad. You know, I get really sad. You know, damn, what the fuck? I mean, I guess I hope he gets the help he needs for the sake of his children. This is proof to me that you need, like, divorce is not a bad thing. Everybody talks about, like, not everybody, but there are people who are like, you have to stay together for the kids. I think that that's so toxic and harmful, you know? Realistically, I think that getting divorced can be a very good thing if you're in an unhealthy relationship, because maybe this could be a wake-up call for Crowder to get his shit together. You know, thankfully, he hasn't crossed the line of, like, beating his wife or anything. Hopefully. Jesus Christ, imagine. And like maybe he could seek therapy just for the sake of being there for his kids and being a good father, right? Like, I just, from that perspective, because holy fuck. But like, you know, imagine they stay together and like the kids pick up on all these, I mean, I would say like abusive tendencies of like berating his wife and like over and over again, and you know, trying to force her to do things. Like, everybody has different like roles. My wife and I have roles in our relationship, right? Because we're fat. No, but we have roles, but like we don't yell at each other over them. We just get disappointed. My wife will come home and be like, I told you to clean the oven today. I'm like, I'm sorry, baby. And then we just kind of put up with it. Or, you know, sometimes my wife won't, you know, feed the dog and give the dog medication. So I scream in her face and I grab her and I say, feed the dog. You don't respect me. I'm not letting you drive the car. I'm just kidding. Actually, my car is now my wife's car. She reminds me all the time that it's her car. So that's fun. What the fuck was I saying? Oh yeah, I hope that he can, because like if they picked up on those habits, then you can imagine that those kids might pick up abusive habits, or they might pick up the habits of being normal with abuse, right? Like, let's say they have one boy and one girl. You know, generally speaking, sons look up to their fathers and daughters look up to their mothers, and they kind of learn the way that you're supposed to be treated by their parents. So a daughter learns how men treat them through their father, and you know, and so imagine that like they have a daughter and she just learns to put up with abuse, and then she marries an abusive person. Or what happens if the son looks at the dad and goes, this is normal, and becomes an abusive kid? You know, that's why, like, divorce, this is a good thing. Get a divorce, separate, because a lot of times when you separate, I already defrosted the chicken, relax. When you separate, that's when you can work on stuff. You know, like, everybody has those problems. I think it's like a normal thing where, like, if people who live together sometimes can get, like, a little crazy, especially, like, with, like, parents and, you know, like, before I moved out with my mom, like, you know, there was times where, like, we would get at each other's shit. You know, when you're able to disconnect, though, it's like, okay, you know, some of that stress can go away and you could work on yourself and get your shit together. Because like I've been there where I've been really angry, but like you have to just walk away or learn how to deal with your shit. You know, sometimes I just go jerk off. I don't know, it makes me feel better. But I would never like tell my wife that, I don't know, that you can't take the car. Like, maybe, like, that's wild. So, Jesus.
A lot of signs that he is not able to control his emotions.
What do I think about one-party divorce is a good idea? Yeah, I mean, like, nothing is perfect, but, like, I think if one party is getting abused, then they want to get divorced. Why should the other abusive party be able to say, no, 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 that's silly goosery? So it makes sense. Are there areas where it could be bad? Sure, that's how everything works, but there's pros and cons to everything. But I think a one-party divorce has more positives than negatives. So My dad went from an abuser to somebody who was willing to change because he lost everything. I heard the first time an apology from him. Yeah, man, life is rough, bro. Life's terrible. Can you divorce your parents? I think it's called emancipation.
And so the question that I will ask is, how many people are going to allege abuse from Steven Crowder before we listen? Before we stop saying he's one of us because he says things that he agrees with? We purport that we are the party of family values. How can you look at that video and defend him in any way? How can you look at that video and not roundly condemn this and say this is not something that actually represents the things that we believe? The writer goes on to say, like so many things in his life in recent years, Crowder's temper and paranoia led him to destroy his relationships with Sir Shapiro, Boring, and others at the Daily Wire when he posted a video on his channel.
Sure, I don't care about that though. Like, it sounds like he's a stinky poop head, but that's not abusive. That is very that certainly speaks to well, I don't think it's not abusive what he did to the Daily Wire, but it was like weird because he was in the wrong 1,000%. So maybe you can call it manipulative. I don't know. But it was weird.
Suggesting that the Daily Wire, without naming the company, was attempting to align itself with big tech by mentioning in their initial offer to him that if he was demonetized on social media platforms, that it would reduce his overall compensation. Well, again, going back to the pattern, it's not just the Daily Wire. It's David Landau. It's Sven the Computer. It's Jared Monroe, formerly known as Not Gay Jared, people that are locked into NDAs and are not allowed to speak about the abuse that they endured by Steven Crowder. It's Owen Benjamin. It's now his wife. Do you believe that all of these various different parties, the majority of them who have never spoken to each other, I've never spoken to Sven the Computer, I've never spoken to David Landau, I've never spoken to Hillary Crowder, I've never spoken to Owen Benjamin. Do you believe that all of these people, as is the paranoid narrative that Steven Crowder is presenting, are working maybe in collusion with big tech to try to destroy him? Or do you believe it's plausible that Steven Crowder is just a monster? I personally believe that he is a monster. And that is, by the way, Steven, if you're watching, I'm not trying to extort you. I am just simply telling the truth. There was a
Yeah, I can feel that. I mean, she knows him, so she can make that prescription. And she's a very blunt person. She seems like a blunt, unforgiving person. My perspective is, I don't know them personally, so it's easier to be like, but like, I just hope that he gets his shit together for his kids. You know? I hope he gets his shit together for his kids. Because that's the most important thing. Because those kids still should have both parents in their lives in some capacity. What a disappointment, though, huh? If you liked Steven Crowder, of course. So
a lot of things that are going on. And I am glad that his wife found the strength to speak out. And I'm calling upon everybody to roundly condemn this, to reject this firmly, not to somehow come up with an excuse and say, oh, well, it's a divorce, so we shouldn't talk about it. We should mind our own business. No, the way that we represent ourselves privately and publicly.
Well, I mean, he's the one who started it, right? Like, I would generally say, like, you know, you should try to keep your shit to yourself for the most part, you know, but given the fact that he tried to come forward to make it seem like she was all her fault and that he was the good Christian that didn't want to get a divorce, and she was just like, hey, he was really horrible to me. I mean, now it's this pause is actually a little funny, but now it's just kind of where we are, you know.
Publicly should be the same. If you purport to care about family values, again, then you should care about this situation and you should condemn it. Yashar Ali also added in this article, in reviewing documentary evidence related to their marriage, Steven Crowder appears to be obsessed with the idea that his wife is only interested in him for money. Hillary Crowder started dating him well before he became famous and wealthy. He was making less than $100,000 a year when they got married. Again,
that's a lot of money still. I mean, that could be $1, that could be $99,000. That's something that's weird though, because like for me, as I become more successful and I ebb and flow, of course, I'm pretty secure. Like, listen, we all have our insecurities. There's times when my wife is like, do you really love me? You know what I mean? We all do that. And it's times where I'm like, do you really love me? You know, we all have our moments of insecurity based on our ups and downs and stuff. But overall, like, I'm very confident that my wife would not leave me regardless of how much money I made. And it's actually a motivating factor to do better, you know? And so, like, I feel like that's one of the good things about finding somebody before you blow up, because then if they're there for you in your lows, they're there for you in your highs. My wife's there for me in my lows. You know, after I did the reformation of the channel, excuse me, and we went from the other channel to this one, you know, that was a pretty big money hit. I was still doing fine. I wasn't like horrible, but I was insecure and I felt like shit and I got worried. And she's like, I don't really care if you fail or you succeed, as long as if it ends, you go and you get like a job, like, and you, she's like, what she says is like, I know you'll try your best to provide regardless, because I would, you know, I'm the guy who's been able to, can work like 12-hour days if I have to. Who wants to, right? And we've even had discussions about me not doing YouTube anymore. We've even had that discussion. She's like, would you be happier? And I was like, I don't know, you know. We've talked about that before, and my wife has never motivated me to do YouTube just for the money. You know? She's never been like, no, you should keep doing it. We make so much money. We do really well. She one time made like a little joke. She's like, oh, it's nice to be able to go to Disney a couple times a year. But she's like, if it really makes you unhappy, I don't want you to do this anymore. So like I'm, you know, I don't have to have these insecurities, especially as I get older. So wouldn't it be hilarious if mom got left you because you abandoned the TikTok channel? That would be wild. No, she's actually very proud of me every day. She's like, you're doing really well, even when I'm feeling in my shit. She's like, no, you're doing well. You're growing again, and I like the way you're growing this time. She's like, I like your audience. I like the way that you interact most of the time, except when I get a little too crazy and go in goblin mode. She's try, you know, she keeps me level headed. So it's weird that maybe he has like legitimate paranoia. I wonder if he has like mental health problems. You know, not to blame everything on mental health, but I mean, just get your shit together, you know?
And the Crowder narrative never seems to line up with the reality. And on that note, for those of you that are asking for an update, yes, I did send a cease and desist to him regarding his comments that I somehow extorted him. I sent the cease and desist. I heard back from his lawyer. And essentially what I get from this is that his lawyer is saying that this was just his opinion and it was just Steven Crowder's feelings. And even though it wasn't reality, too bad, so sad. Here's exactly what that legal letter back to me said. I'm going to read you a couple of quotations. It says, the simple fact is that Ms. Owens, as shown in the clip, made thinly veiled threats directed at Mr. Crowder that she would release the alleged dirt she had on him if he kept making statements about the Daily Wire. Mr. Crowder's opinions fall short of any defamation. At most, he has merely opined comparatively the feeling of certain misconduct to his own present state of being. Then the subsequent use of the word threats is not in and of itself an accusation of crime, even within the larger context in which it was used. The most reasonable implication is not an accusation of crime, but that threats have occurred that fall short of being a crime. Again, at most, they are simply reminiscent in Mr. Crowder's personal opinion of the specifically referenced type of misconduct. In short, these are his feelings. They are not facts.
Sounds like Crowder's engaging in the Streisand effect.
And his opinions are protected. And to make it clear for those of you that thought there was something going on in the back.
You can't make any judgments based off one fight. You actually can. You actually can do that. I just want you to know. I feel like I'm being pretty level-headed, but that's like a really bizarre situation. Like I even said in the beginning, like, you know, I don't know what else is going on in their household. Maybe it was a really bad moment of weakness. Maybe he does sometimes have a penchant to get really angry and be like horrible to her. Maybe he's working on it, you know, but like my thing is we're at a situation where it's not like they're like just yelling at each other mutually. I mean, he's telling her that she can't have the car because she's in timeout. It's very, it's very bizarre. It's not even that you can only blame so much on mental health. Like it's more that like your mental health is your responsibility to get under control. You know what I mean? Like you can't just be like, oh guys, sorry, quirky anger problems. It's like, okay, are you like actively working on those problems and getting your shit together? Then I could be more sympathetic. You know,
background or that someone had secretly threatened him. His lawyer is alleging that's not the case. He was simply referring to the exact clip that he showed you of me. Nothing else happened. He just wanted you guys to think that he was under duress in some other capacity. In short, as I have said, I believe Steven Crowder is an absolute monster, and I encourage all of the other people that he has victimized to find their strength to speak out now. By the way, his lawyer offered to me that we could both agree to a ceasefire if I agreed that I would never speak about Steven Crowder again. And to him, I would publicly like to say, your client doesn't have that kind of money to keep Candace Owens from speaking out about things that I find to be absolutely despicable.
Hold on.
And that's all I'm going to say about that.
that like I know that line is supposed to be like really hard, like ending off like really hard, but that just makes it look like that there is a price amount that she could take to stop talking. She's like, you don't have enough money to silence me. It's like, well, how much do I need then, right? Okay, yeah. Listen, to end it off, Steven Crowder, you got to get your shit together for your kids, brother. Holy fuck.